You watched the whole documentary. You read the article twice, looking for the part where they finally explain it. You closed the tab a little disappointed, because somewhere in the back of your mind, you wanted there to still be a mystery. That feeling is older than you think. And it's not really about the pyramids at all. Here's what most people assume. Somewhere out there, buried in a dusty archive or locked in a scholar's head, is the final answer. The one clean explanation for how the Great Pyramid of Giza was built. Most people assume archaeologists just haven't found it yet, or worse, that they're hiding it. The real answer is far stranger. We actually know an enormous amount about how it was built, and people still don't want to hear it. Let's start with what we do know, because it's more impressive than most of the mystery. In 2013, a French archaeologist named Pierre Tallet was excavating near the Red Sea when his team uncovered something remarkable. Papyrus fragments, thousands of years old, written by a man named Mirror. It was a logbook, a literal work diary, kept by a mid-level official who managed a crew of laborers hauling limestone blocks by boat up the Nile toward Giza. It records shifts, delays, and food rations, with the mundane precision of a supervisor filing a report to his boss. It's the oldest inscribed papyrus ever found, and it confirms something historians had long suspected. This wasn't magic. This was logistics. So why does the mystery persist? Because knowing the logistics doesn't answer the harder question. Not how the stones got there, how they got positioned with a precision that modern construction still struggles to match. The base of the Great Pyramid is level to within about 2 centimeters across a footprint the size of 10 football fields. The 4 sides are aligned to true north with an accuracy of a fraction of a degree. No compass, no satellites, just careful observation of the stars, and a workforce that had to get it right the first time, because a mistake in the foundation would have doomed the entire structure decades into construction. That's not myth. That's real, verified, measurable precision. And it should feel more astonishing than any alien theory, because it means ordinary humans, using nothing but patience and geometry, outperformed what most people assume required lost technology. Here's where it gets genuinely uncertain, though, because there's one part of the puzzle nobody has fully solved. How did they get 2-ton blocks nearly 150 meters into the air? Archaeologist Mark Lehner, who has spent decades excavating the Giza Plateau and the workers' town beside it, has favored the idea of a straight external ramp combined with smaller side ramps, built and dismantled as the structure rose. It's plausible. It matches some physical evidence found at the site. But French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin proposed something different. An internal spiral ramp, built into the pyramid itself, invisible from the outside, used to haul blocks up through the interior as it grew. In 2016, a scanning project called Scan Pyramids, using cosmic ray imaging, detected a mysterious cavity deep inside the structure, roughly the size of a passenger jet. Some researchers think it might support Houdin's theory. Others think it's something else entirely. Nobody knows for certain. That gap, that small stubborn unknown at the center of an otherwise well-documented project, is where all the mystery lives. And that gap is not a flaw in the historical record. It's the reason you keep watching. Because here's the uncomfortable psychological truth underneath all of this. You don't actually want everything explained. You think you do. But total certainty is strangely unsatisfying. Researchers studying curiosity, including work associated with psychologist George Lowenstein, described curiosity as an information gap. A felt distance between what you know and what you want to know. Close that gap completely, and the pull disappears. Leave a sliver of it open, and the mind keeps circling back. The pyramid sits in that sliver perfectly. 90% explained. 10% unresolved. That 10% is doing almost all the emotional work. This is also exactly the space where bad explanations move in. Ancient aliens, lost civilizations, secret technology. Not because the evidence supports them. It never has. But because a small gap of genuine scientific uncertainty is incredibly easy to fill with a much bigger, much more dramatic story, and dramatic stories are more satisfying than they probably used a ramp we haven't fully identified yet. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, who led excavations at Giza for years, has pushed back hard against these alternative theories. sometimes with visible frustration. Not because they're harmless fun, because they quietly erase the actual people who did the work. The bakers, the brewers, the rotating labor crews recorded in Mirror's diary. Real humans with names, with rest days, with sore backs and rationed bread, who solved an engineering problem so well that it's still standing after 4,500 years while glass towers built last decade already need renovation. Maybe that's the part worth sitting with. You live in an age where almost everything gets explained within seconds. A search bar answers most of your questions before you've even finished typing them. Mystery has become rare. Genuinely unresolved questions, the kind that survive contact with real evidence, are rarer still. The pyramids are one of the last places where you can stand in front of something enormous, something measurable, something scientifically documented down to the papyrus logs of the men who hauled the stone, and still feel a small, honest gap where nobody anywhere has the final answer. That's not a failure of archaeology. It's the last honest mystery left standing, in a world that ran out of most of the others. You'll close this video the same way you closed that documentary. A little disappointed there isn't more. But maybe that gap was never a hole in the story. Maybe it's the only part of the story still alive.